All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the New School. My name is Craig Teedy. I'm the Director for Admission Communication and Enrollment Services, and I get to be your host for this afternoon's festivities. I want to show you a quick video first to introduce you to some of our students and some of the work that they've been doing here. So if you wouldn't mind switching over.
The New School really gives you the opportunity to figure out what you want to do and how what you want to do can affect change throughout not just your personal life, but the world.
I really am in this artistic community of people who are working to really change the world through their practice and to be socially engaged in their projects.
I thought that I was just built to work for someone else, which is great, but coming to the New School gave me the confidence to leave knowing that I do have what it takes to be my own boss.
I'm studying the same theory that Mozart studied, but at the same time I get to do productions that are new and edgy and really different from what I do in my coursework.
I'm not just working in film, I'm working in video games and I'm working in VR. And it's combining these things that I love about film, but it's allowing me to explore narrative that actually kind of matters to me.
The theoretical and the scholarly is always connected to the practical component of actually making a difference.
So being here at the New School has really made me more aware of what and why I do something, musically and as a person.
I want to use these tools to be able to bridge policy and design in a way that no one has attempted to in my country.
The New School is a place to explore who you are, why you are, and what you want to be.
Putting a theory into motion, I think, is what the New School offers. It tells you to do. It's like, don't sit around and just read this. Go out and explore.
The type of student who would do so well in the New School is the kind that looks at something and says, why does it have to be this way?
Why does it have to be this way? Usually at this point in these presentations, someone from an admission office like me comes out and starts to tell the tale to a room full of dreamy and sometimes sleepy-eyed students, although it is 1 o'clock now on a Sunday, and their often terrified parents, why it is that this school that you may be visiting for the very first time is guaranteed to be the best fit for you moving forward. And I'd like to try to do something a little bit different today, in large part because we are not a traditional university, so I don't really want to follow that traditional model. And so I want to start, even though I'm very glad to welcome you to the Eugene Lang College and College of Performing Arts open house here at the New School, by helping you learn a little bit something new. That's our theme for the day. So how many of you actually know what an open house is or how an open house started? Don't worry, I'm not going to call on you. But interestingly enough, I did a little research, and it turns out that the open house itself is actually fairly traditional, as you'd expect, but started at the exact same time as the New School. We started nearly a century ago, and at that time, the open house, as you'd likely expect, cropped up as part of real estate. Until 1919, there were no license laws in the United States. So anybody could broker a property simply by popping a sign up in a lawn. And as you can imagine, this led to quite a bit of confusion and competition. So what ended up happening is they created something called exclusive contracts laws, where only a single real estate broker could be assigned to sell a property. This gave those brokers exclusive access to that property. And then they were basically assumed the responsibility to sell that property, which meant they had to figure out some way to do that. And so they started something called an open for inspection event. And these brokers would then spend from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. at the property they were trying to sell until it sold. Now, I've been here since 7 this morning. I don't want to be here till 9 o'clock at night, so I hope that you get what you need out of this open house experience a little bit more quickly than people did back then. But those open houses at the time were really billed as an opportunity for people interested in property after the First World War ended to see the architecture and technology of a space and really allow them to identify whether that was the place where they wanted to live and grow and pursue their future. Now, of course, open houses occur across all areas of industry and are as much associated with colleges and universities as they are with the Johnson's 3-bedroom split level with a kitchen nook. So why am I telling you all of this? Well, first of all, as I alluded to earlier, our theme for the day is to learn something new, and chances are pretty good most of you just did. Secondly, because the open house and this new school came to be at right about the exact same time in 1919, it felt important to me to make the connection that both of those things really immediately changed the future. The new school has been new for almost 100 years. And it was founded in 1919 by a group of academics frustrated with what they called at the time intellectual timidity of higher education. These people wanted to come together and grapple with the great issues of the day, to rethink what higher education could be, and actively work to shape the future for themselves. Today, the new school is comprised of 6 total schools, some that grew out of that beginning, and others that started as independent schools, ultimately choosing to join us. What all our schools share is a commitment to dissolving the walls between disciplines, to relentlessly questioning convention, to fearlessly creating positive change in the world, and honestly and directly addressing the problems that are facing our global communities. Today, we open our doors for this open house so that you can see not just the architecture and technology that help us to do that, but the people who are here doing that every single day. The designers, the performers, the composers, the scholars, the critical thinkers, the social activists, the students, the staff, and the faculty that have all been drawn here to New York City from all over the world with a shared purpose: to make the world a better and more just place. Just take a look at some of the people who have done just that. Some of these names are ones you'll recognize, others are ones you won't. But every one of them has made a notable impact on the world, teaching it something new they learned while they were here. Today, the new school is home to more than 10,000 total students from all 50 US states and 116 foreign countries. We offer 134 degree and diploma programs now. Our students choose us to feel challenged, to expand their worldviews, to be presented with new experiences and opportunities, to make a difference, to be part of an authentic, collaborative environment, to become part of a community where they're supported by their peers and feel free to be themselves, to always improve, to build a future of long-term success, to grapple with the complex programs that are facing our society, and to be prepared to pursue more fluid and flexible career pathways. The new school really isn't like a lot of other schools. We don't just expose you to work that has been done for centuries, so that you come here to learn what has already been learned, to create what's already been created, to debate what's already been debated, and perform what's already been performed. We, in fact, want you to discover new ways to innovate, create art, question conventions, and design solutions that are distinctive and unexpected. Work that is certainly of you, but for the world. Here, we bring scholarly rigor together with academic freedom. Learning is project-based and hands-on. That work is facilitated by faculty who are working professionals in their fields, leaders in what they're coming into the classrooms to teach. Our commitment to issues of social justice is front and center, as is our commitment to leaving the world in better condition than we found it. Our class sizes are small, with a student-to-faculty ratio of 9:1, and our access is great, with world leaders, renowned activists, and Nobel Prize and Oscar, Grammy, and Tony Award winners regularly on our campus, engaging around the problems and questions of greatest interest to you. And we prepare our artists, both of the mind and of the stage, to be engaged citizens of the world. We will ask you to use those world problems and questions to inform your work and your awareness of how you can affect and will be affected by the future you're going to help create. And with the new school in New York City is your classroom. And you can be sure you'll have unparalleled access and opportunities to the people, the industries, the performance venues, and the ideas necessary to build a future for yourself that you're just now beginning to imagine. Just think about this. Last year alone, New School students interned at more than 1,200 different companies in the city, making their mark and absorbing the culture across all forms of industry. We know that society is rapidly changing, resulting in more fluid and flexible career pathways, as I said. And as such, our students' paths to that success are often as unique as the questions they pose and the answers they seek. Nayab Kaver graduated from Eugene Lang College with a degree in interdisciplinary science in 2012. She was always interested in social justice and in helping people, but she never thought that she'd pursue a career in the sciences. She came to Lang with an interest in communication and the creative world, and it was at Lang that she learned science is as creative as any of the arts. As a student here, she interned at the Department of Pediatrics at New York Presbyterian Methodist Hospital, Brooklyn, and after graduation secured a position as a clinical researcher. Lang helped her to realize the gaps that needed to be filled in the medical and scientific world, and that she could have an impact both on the quality of and access to healthcare. Nayab is currently working towards her Master's of Science in Epidemiology at Columbia University. James Francis was a BFA Jazz Performance graduate in 2017. He recently won a Grammy for Chance the Rapper's No Problem at those 2017 awards. And as a teenager, he won the American Federation of Musicians President's Youth Award. He has toured internationally with prolific jazz drummers Chris Dave and Jeff Tane Watts. He's worked on film scores with Questlove, and occasionally you can even spot him playing with The Roots on national television for The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon. Now, you're here specifically today because of an interest in one or both of two of our colleges, Eugene Lang College and the College of Performing Arts. So I want to dive a little bit more deeply into each of those to tell you what we offer. At Lang, relevance, rigor, theory, and practice converge. And that's how it has always been. It was in 1972 when the New School established a freshman year program, which offered exceptional high school seniors and a couple juniors the opportunity to earn college credits by taking seminar courses here before they would formally transfer in a year later as sophomores into one of the then existing four-year bachelor's programs. There were no teaching assistants, lecture halls, or required survey courses at that time. There was no competition from organized sports, fraternity, sorority rushes, or other features of the traditional college entry. The intellectual adventure of college life was its sole focus. And today, more than 35 years later, Lang continues to challenge the notion of what a liberal arts education can be. It is a college in a university in a city, taking advantage of its seminar-style approach of learning by immersing students in primary texts, cross-disciplinary inquiry, and socially engaged explorations of power and privilege. Whatever the major, and you can see the full list here, students are encouraged to incorporate real-world experience into their critical examination of the world. Lang offers more than 300 boundary-breaking courses each semester, of which they are understandably proud, and here are but a few examples. At the College of Performing Arts, students are seeking a deepening of practice in contemporary or classical music or the dramatic arts. And rather than encounter the walls between those disciplines and a culture of competition, students here become members of a compassionate, progressive artistic center, surrounded by students and mentors who both do and teach. Here, you will certainly hone your craft, to be sure, but you will also become 21st century artists and citizens. The College of Performing Arts is comprised by three distinct schools, and let me introduce you to those. Mannes School of Music is a different kind of conservatory, and as one of the two schools that predated the New School, it has a rich legacy of its own on which to draw. Founded in 1916, Mannes has more than a century of practice educating the whole person within each student, developing a strong technical foundation of music, while also instilling a sense of what it means to make a life and a profession in the field of music. The School of Drama seeks to create change on and off the stage. Combining rigor with creative experimentation, the focus is squarely on authenticity of expression and confronting today's most pressing societal issues through the making of theater, film, and emerging media. Since its founding here at the New School in the 1940s, the School of Drama has continuously pushed the boundary of theory and technique, producing actors, directors, playwrights, and technicians with the creative and entrepreneurial skills invaluable for a lifelong career as an artist. The School of Jazz and Contemporary Music offers students an artist as mentor approach to learning. It was founded here in 1986 on the principle that working artists should play a role in the development of the next generation of emerging artists. And the school quickly gained international renown as a place where students could reach across disciplines to construct new rhythms, inventive compositions, and original means of expression. The College of Performing Arts, like Lang, offers more than its fair share of boundary-breaking courses as well, and here are some examples of those. Also happening on campus today, which began earlier this morning, is an open house for the undergraduate programs at Parsons School of Design. Across 11 disciplines and 2 schools, the one here in New York City and one in Parsons, Paris, students engage with the things, people, and systems that help them design solutions for a better world. I share just that taste of Parsons with you because we strongly encourage all of our students to explore across disciplines. One of the benefits of studying at a place like the New School is the access to the university and what it provides to all of the students at the other schools in its various areas of study. Here's just one example. Students from the College of Performing Arts, specifically within Mannes School of Music and Parsons, collaborated on wearable technology that showed us how sound, light, and fashion could combine for a full sensory experience. As students at the New School, you're going to have access to more than 55 minors university-wide. Are you a contemporary dancer interested in capitalism, a journalist interested in interdisciplinary science, a poet interested in music composition? You can foster those interests here. Or perhaps you can even consider a more rigorous course of study. We offer a dual degree pathway, a BA, BFA, designed for students who want a more comprehensive education, both in the liberal arts and in either a music or design field. Connecting one area of study from Eugene Lang College with one from the School of Jazz and Contemporary Music, or one from Parsons School of Design. We also offer more than 40 approved accelerated BA-MA pairings for advanced students who may want to go on to graduate work right here at the New School, allowing you to save time and money. I'm hoping all of this is starting to sound pretty great, and that, of course, is one of the purposes of the open house. It isn't just for me to tell you about this place, rather. It's for you to see it and experience it with your own eyes. And our campus is as unique as our offerings and our location. And, of course, how we use both of those things. As New York City is quite integral to the experience you are likely to have as a student here. Yeah, we don't have the traditional grass-covered quad that might be so prevalent on a CW television show. Our urban quad spans 6 city blocks, primarily between 11th and 16th Streets here in Greenwich Village. Greenwich Village is an area of New York City that has long been known as an artist's neighborhood. This is a mecca for eclectic and avant-garde residents, a bohemian capital where small art galleries, alternative theater, and controversial publications have long thrived, and has been home to many of the political and social movements that have changed the world, most notably for the LGBTQ+ communities. Over the years, we've taken this legacy of being in Greenwich Village quite seriously, updating and enhancing our on-campus facilities so they match the spirit and tenor of this great location. Make a point of going into those facilities and seeing our libraries, our making center, our exhibition spaces, our performance spaces, and our residence halls. Our Office of Housing and Residential Education is committed to providing safe, comfortable learning communities on campus where students can build lifelong relationships and enjoy all the benefits of living in Manhattan. We have 5 on-campus residence halls, and more than 90% of our first-year students opt to live in on-campus housing. We also want to make sure that you stop by our University Center cafeteria today so you can get a literal taste of dining on campus. Students with meal plans can frequent that cafeteria, one in their residence, one of our on-campus cafes, like the O Cafe that you might have seen here in this building, or many other businesses right here within the area. We are also just steps away from the legendary Union Square Farmers Market and other cafes, restaurants, and pizzerias that continue to keep Greenwich Village legendary. And of course, don't forget to engage with members of our campus community at our campus resource fair, housed in the lower level of the University Center. And we do, in fact, have a campus mascot, that is Gnarls the Narwhal. So at this point, you're either overwhelmed or starting to maybe fall in love with all the possibilities that the new school has to offer, or perhaps some combination of the two, and you're starting to wonder how you would just go about getting into a place as magical as the new school. So for that, I'm going to turn you over to two of my colleagues who work within the admission offices for Eugene Lang College and the College of Performing Arts. Please welcome to the stage Alex Kirkpatrick from Lang Admission and Samuel Byron from Performing Arts Admission.
Thanks, Craig. Hi, everybody. So Alex and I are both admission counselors. Alex works primarily with the Lang population, and I am here to represent the wonderful College of Performing Arts. And we're going to talk you through a little bit of the nitty-gritty of how you apply and or audition for the programs at the new school. So, if you need to take notes, feel free, but if not, we'll be on hand to answer questions as well.
Awesome. So for students applying, there are two main terms that you can apply for. The first is early action. So for students who have their application ready a little bit earlier on, maybe got a little bit of a head start, or just kind of have their materials ready, you can apply before November 1st for our early action admission. This is available for students applying to Lang, or the School of Drama, as well as Parsons School of Design. For students applying to the School of Jazz or Manus, we'll talk about regular decision, which is the only option for those schools. So you'll receive early notification if you apply early action. However, if you are someone who is counting on your first semester senior year grades to kind of boost your application, want a little more time to work on your app, maybe prepare for auditions for the Performing Arts School, regular decision is also an option. So for students who apply before January 15th, you get your decision in March. There is no, benefit or detractor for applying for either of these terms. It's the same competitiveness for admission, same consideration for admission and merit scholarships. It really depends on when you have your application in ready and when you feel most comfortable submitting it. If you apply for early action, there's a possibility that if your application is late, or if we want to see some more materials, we may request your application to be rolled over to regular decision. So that is a possibility for certain applicants. These deadlines are very important, though, especially for students that are looking to live on campus for housing, get priority consideration for their program, and have some time to apply if they're international students for their visa as well. So please make sure to adhere to these deadlines as much as possible. As I said, decision notification for early action is going to happen in mid-December, and for regular decision will happen in mid-March. For students at Manus School of Music, everything is totally different than what I had just said. So you guys should disregard everything I said. There's one deadline for Manus, and that is December 1st. Students who apply by that time, they'll schedule an audition, and which Sam will talk about a little bit. But notification is also going to be in mid-March for them. For students looking to apply for the spring 2019 semester, our application deadline is coming up very soon, and that is going to be October 15th. Notification will happen on a rolling basis starting in mid-November from there.
Okay, so moving on. If there are any students interested in applying as transfer students, there are a few extra deadlines, a little extra time for you guys to apply. Requirements by program don't change, but your application is due on October 15th if you're interested in transferring in at the spring semester, which is a January start, and April 1st for the following fall. So how do you apply, right? All of the programs at the New School require the Common Application, which is a general college application accepted by almost 2,000 colleges nationwide. There you'll submit to us personal information, contact information, and the basics of who you are and where you come from, as well as your high school transcripts for any college level credit you may have received while in high school that you would like to transfer in. You'll submit 2 letters of recommendation, 1 teacher and 1 counselor recommendation. If you are applying to any of our music conservatories or the School for Drama, we recommend that the teacher that you have write a recommendation be able to speak about your creative work as a student. But if not, that's totally fine. We just want good recommendation. You'll submit your portfolio for drama or your pre-screen materials, which I'll talk about in a second, for your respective programs at College of Performing Arts. And a few other things. We do require an essay supplement. The question is why the New School in 500 words or less. That can be anything that you decide to write about. We do not require the main college essay you may be writing, and we are also test optional. Now, for students at Eugene Lang, that is the entire application, and so it is a good idea to submit as much information and as much writing as you can, and Alex will talk about writing in just a second. But we do truly mean that we are test optional and that these extra facets are not required. We are dedicated to providing a holistic application evaluation process, providing as much access to the admission process to the New School as possible. We want to meet you. We want to meet you wherever you're at and whatever you have to show us in your best light. That's what we're interested in.
And if I could just echo that a little bit, we are truly test optional, meaning that there is no secret consideration for admission or scholarships that is based on SAT or ACT scores. It really is up to the student to submit that stuff. For Lang, as Sam said a little bit, it is a pretty simple application in the end. So, Lang's coursework is going to be very discussion-based, very heavy on reading and writing as well. So when we're looking at Lang applicants, strong writers are definitely going to be very competitive for admission and for merit scholarships. These are just a couple of pointers that, might be a little bit helpful for when you're submitting essays. The Common Application offers an optional personal essay. I recommend writing that just because seeing a little bit more writing, can help for admission. Totally optional, but if you are looking at submitting any additional materials outside of the application requirements, you're welcome to submit additional writing samples, but again, that is by no means required. When we're looking at your curriculum, we really are looking at the whole of your transcript, but, English classes, humanities, and kind of social sciences are things we're going to look at. But, we are also just looking at your full academic GPA, your grade trend, the rigor of your coursework. And when we're looking at GPA, we're looking mostly at unweighted.
Okay, on to auditions and pre-screens. For those of you who are interested in applying to the School for Jazz and Contemporary Music or Mana's College of Music, you will be, depending on the program you are applying to, required to submit something called a pre-screen. Hopefully that sounds semi-familiar, but if not, pre-screens are videos of performance that you will submit through a website called getaccepted.com. That's listed right up there. Be careful, it is missing a letter because the internet. But you will submit based on the specific requirements for your different instruments. For the BFA in jazz, all instruments and concentrations are required to submit a pre-screen video, which is just a performance of a song of your choosing, uploaded directly to Accepted. And then the different concentrations and majors at Mana's do have different requirements. Not all of them require a pre-screen, so you'll want to make sure that you are checking. All of that is due at the same time as your Common App. So by that December 1st deadline for Mana's or for January 15th for the School for Jazz. Auditions are then held live on campus here in New York at the end of February and beginning of March. And again, those have different requirements than the pre-screen. We do, not every student who submits a pre-screen is invited to audition. It is a pretty broad selection, so it is really the first hurdle to clear. But you may receive a denial from that pre-screen. So just make sure you're up on the quality of your recording and things like that. If you audition live on campus here for School of Jazz, we will provide a group of musicians, as current student musicians, to play with you. You'll be expected to bring music for those students, and you'll have a brief moment to rehearse with them. And then there are requirements for manas as well that are specific to each instrument. You will be adjudicated on your performance, your technique, as well as the quality of the overall performance. And also jazz does include a brief interview. We do also, for both programs, accept video auditions. So for students, again, talking about access and about what the new school is all about, we are dedicated to making sure that everyone has an opportunity that is granted the opportunity. So if you cannot, for whatever reason, make the trip to New York to audition, you are welcome to submit a video audition as well. Moving on to the BFA in Dramatic Arts. Now, the BFA in Dramatic Arts as a program is a very unique drama experience. It's interdisciplinary, it's studio-based. All of our students, regardless of concentration, will take foundation courses in acting, directing, playwriting, and something called creative technology. And so to reflect that interdisciplinary and academically rigorous basis for theatrical training, our application is a bit interdisciplinary. So students will submit their Common App. Our Common App for the BFA in Dramatic Arts has an extra essay supplement. There's the question, why the new school, in 500 words or less. And there is also a brief essay supplement asking you to speak a little bit about what it means to you to be both an artist and a citizen. You're sensing a theme here. In addition to that, you will submit a portfolio through the website getaccepted.com, same as Jazz and Manis. There, all students will submit a headshot or a clear picture of their face, either one. They have the option of submitting a professional or high school resume, again, truly optional. They will submit a 1-minute video of you being you, which that is the entire requirement for the video. It can be literally anything you want it to be. You don't even have to be in it if you don't want to. It's a chance for students to have a little fun with the application, but to also show us something that maybe doesn't fit elsewhere in the application. And then their artistic portfolio. Now, the portfolio is going to be specific to how the student would like to be considered primarily. So if the student is looking to be considered as an actor, which is probably the most common consideration, they will submit a 1 to 2 minute contemporary monologue video. But there are different requirements if you are looking to be considered as a playwright, a director, a creative technologist, or a dramaturg. And true to the interdisciplinary nature of the program, students can also submit an interdisciplinary portfolio. You will be asked to identify your primary area of consideration, which means that if you want to be considered primarily as an actor who also writes, we know that we will be looking closely at your acting and then taking in your writing supplement as exactly that, as a supplement. But that is a conversation that we have with each applicant depending on how they'd like to submit. You are welcome to submit interdisciplinary. You are not required to do so. Once you've submitted everything by either the November 1st early action or January 15th regular decision deadline, you will then be invited to schedule your audition. Those auditions take place across the country and throughout the year. Early action auditions will be taking place here on campus and over the internet on Skype the first weekend in November. And then the spring audition dates will be here on campus as well as in Chicago and Los Angeles, starting in January and running almost all the way to March.
Oops. I guess this is a blank red slide. Anyway, so I was just going to talk a little bit about how, students who are really interested in doing both liberal arts and art and design, or liberal arts and jazz and contemporary music, can pursue a 5-year BA, BFA pathway. This is a little bit more rigorous of a program. Students take some more credits per semester and go for 5 years, but they come out with 2 bachelor's degrees. And are really enrolled equally in both Lang and Parsons or Lang and the School of Jazz. For any students interested in this program, if you're looking to apply, the application process is really going to be pretty similar to applying for the BFA program in Parsons or the BFA program in Jazz, with one additional short essay to round that BA-BFA application out. You'll be considered for the BA-BFA program, but then you'll also be considered for each individual school in case you're not admissible for the BA-BFA program. So if it's something you're interested in, it does not hurt to apply for it because you have that consideration for the individual schools as well as that dual degree program.
Great. Moving forward, our Student Financial Services Office. Now, this is some important information to have for several reasons. Everyone, regardless of where you're coming from or what your background is dealing with how are we going to make this work financially, right? Everyone is in the midst of making some kind of plan or executing a plan that was made ahead of time, and we are here to sort of mentor you through that process at whatever stage that you're in. I'm always a fan of getting as much information as early as possible, so we encourage you all to reach out to our Student Financial Services team. They are on campus today in person, but you can also email or call at any time. And just start that conversation. Also, I wanted to do a quick plug for FAFSA. If you know that you are going to be applying for and taking advantage of FAFSA, that application opened this past week, and so make sure that you get in there and check it out. You can also ask us for help with filing your FAFSA as well, if there's any particular considerations you would like us or that you are expecting to take advantage of. In addition, all applications to the New School for any program are automatically considered for merit scholarship consideration. If you are admitted and awarded a scholarship, it shows up as a dollar amount in your admission letter, and those are good for all 4 years that you study at the New School. Tuition this coming year at the New School is about $47,000 per year. The cost of attendance at the New School is quoted as quite a bit higher than that, and that is generally due to cost of living and housing. Now, a good portion of our population coming in each year, a significant portion, do not live on campus, or they'll only do a semester or a year. And that is really to throw back to what Craig was talking about in terms of the community at the New School being part of the city, not only through your coursework, but also through the community that you are a part of as a student at the New School. Our students are eager to be citizens of the city. Part of that is financial consideration. It can significantly walk cost back to live off campus, and so a lot of times our students who do a year on campus, by the end of that year, the F train isn't quite as scary and Brooklyn doesn't seem so far away, and they will get together with other students and get an apartment. And that can really save costs, but it also adds to the experience of being a New School student. You can find out more about university housing, of course, today by taking a tour and also meeting with members of the team from the Office of Housing.
Great, well, thank you guys so much. If you have any questions for us, we will be around all of these buildings today. So feel free to stop us and ask any questions or reach out to the admission office at any time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we also have with us today a recent alumna of our dual degree pathway program, Zosha, who is going to facilitate a conversation with two of our school deans. We have with us the Dean of Eugene Lang College of Liberal Arts, Stephanie Browner, and the Dean of the School of Drama, Pippin Parker. So I'd love to have Pippin, Stephanie, and Zosha join us up on stage now.
Hello. Hello and welcome.
Hi.
We're going to read something today?
No, I had some thoughts, but private thoughts about other stuff going on in the
You
world.
don't want to hear about this,
no, I
okay.
don't. It's too depressing, but I'm very happy to be here, and thank you all for being here.
What a lovely crowd. You look good.
Yeah. Well, to further introduce myself, I'm Zosha, to begin with, and I'm a recent graduate of both the College of Performing Arts and Eugene Lang College. So I graduated in the spring with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Jazz and Contemporary Music with a concentration in violin performance, and then also a Bachelor of Arts in Interdisciplinary Science at Lang. So I'm just here to have a discussion about like what makes the New School so special and studying in New York so special. But can we just start by talking about why study liberal arts or the performing arts at all, especially in your first college education?
All right.
Go.
So those who are here thinking about liberal arts may have a sense of what you're looking for. And it's a very U.S. tradition, the liberal arts. You will find it in Europe, but it's not as common. Big universities kind of doing arts and sciences. So people often associate the liberal arts with a handful of things. Maybe small classes, maybe a lot of reading and writing. But it's really at its roots. The word liberal comes from liberation. It's the notion of learning to be free. So that at Lang, we understand that to mean that you should always be asking, as you've heard a couple times today already, why are things that way? And why do I think what I think? And that you can't do that alone. You have to do that in conversation with things you are reading, things you are seeing and studying, and with colleagues at the table. And that's the premise, really, of the seminar, of reading and writing critically, always having your sort of critical faculties turned on. And certainly at Lang in the New School, it means and engaging the world. There is the ivory tower of the academy. It is a fine model of education. It is not what we do here. We definitely retreat into the seminar room for a couple of hours to read and talk and write and think with each other and challenge one another, to hear diverse perspectives and to have that kind of cognitive dissonance when you encounter an idea that you do not understand or agree with initially. But we don't stay there. We are always out in the world and having our ideas of ourselves and what we can do in the world challenged by those around us so that we continue to grow. And I really think that sort of notion of freedom and liberation, to challenge ourselves to be free and to always think fresh thoughts and to accept challenge, is the core of the liberal arts as we do it here.
It's so fascinating. I mean, why study performing arts? Of course, you know, part of it is a almost genetic or chemical need and passion to express yourself through an art form that you connect to, and that you are, have demonstrated some talent and a way of communicating with the world and processing the world through an art form. But what's fascinating to me is that when we think of performing arts, and just to pick up on what you were talking about, Stephanie, you know, we think of the conservatory training, which has in it the word conserve, and relating to conservative, and quite different than the liberal arts tradition. The tradition of performing arts, and this is not an American thing, it is really Western European, and it goes back at least a couple of hundred years in the training of musicians, and really before that in the training of artists. And it was about being bound into a tradition of practice, a sort of master-apprentice tradition, and a very deep lineage and channel going back to previous masters in that art form. And I would say in the same way that Lang is resembles in no way the ivory tower of academia that you might think of, this College of Performing Arts, it really does not look like conservatories in any kind of way, except for the incredible talent of the students. Our students are engaged, they are passionate, they are, as you've heard, multidisciplinary, they are thinkers, and I think, and I hope we'll get a chance to get back to this, and I think similar to the students at Lang, although they may be studying different things, they have a deep desire for agency, for the ability to change the world through their work.
I definitely agree with that. I think at the New School, like the whole student body is so active, and everyone is thinking about like how can we change, promote change in the world, like at the College of Performing Arts, at Lang, throughout the entire New School. It's a student body that's like very committed to social justice and current issues among everybody. So that brings me to the next point. Why is the New School such a special place to study the liberal arts or the performing arts? I mean, we've talked about maybe the importance of studying, but what makes the New School stand out?
You go first this time.
Yeah, well, I think I think that so many things. First of all, as Craig was saying, there are 10,000 students in this university. About 5,000 of them are at Parsons. But there is a common, before I'm talking about New York itself, I would say at the New School in the community, students, they make things, they do things. They are incredibly creative. Most of the university, and I would say even the master's degree and doctoral students are involved in community. They are not separated from the world or their lives. And I think that to have the experience of talking to a student who's studying psychology or a student who's studying photography, or who is a graphic illustrator, or who is a 3D animator, or who is playing the fiddle, and making the associative connections between your lives, your practice, what you do, what your thoughts are about the world. It's a way of sparking your brain and your creativity every day. Every time you get a coffee and are standing next to a student who you've never met and you find out what they do, or a faculty member. And our faculty member, as we were also saying, they are working professionals. They're working in the world. They have they have to pay their rent. They have to get their thing done. They have deadlines. They are not offering received wisdoms. They are people. They are soon to be your colleagues as soon as you graduate.
So I think I came to the New School 8 years ago.
Has it been that long? We came at the same time. I
well,
can't
we're starting
believe
our
it.
8th year now.
Oh my gosh.
And I was a academic dean, a provost at a standalone liberal arts college. I knew of the New School. I was thrilled to think I could help lead Eugene Lane College. The New School stands out and is known nationally and internationally for a very core DNA. We don't have to brand it. We don't have to sort of create fancy language for it. It's real. You may not have heard of it, but those who have know that the New School really stands for a kind of learning that is engaged, that is in the world, and takes issues seriously to this day. So on a weekend, I might go to the museum, let's say Metropolitan Museum of Art, go to a concert at BAM in Brooklyn, and open up the New York Times or some newspaper, and in every one of those venues, I will stumble upon a New School faculty member writing the blurb for the program at BAM, maybe writing something or being a critic for the exhibition at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Our faculty, and as a result, our students at the New School are always in and of the city. I was recently at an event, got to meet the former mayor of New York City, Mayor Bloomberg, and I was introduced as the dean of Eugene Lane College at the New School. He said, oh, and I knew what he was going to say, I took courses at the New School. New Yorkers, everyone has taken a course here because this was a place where you might, because there's continuing ed here, and they were always interesting courses. That's how the school was founded, by faculty who were frustrated with their university, and they, quote unquote, came downtown to where the immigrants lived to create learning, not for degrees and not for diplomas and not for caps and gowns, but because humans like to learn, and our society is a better place if we honor and foster that. And that's what the New School stands for, whether it's in the performing arts, the liberal arts, graduate level, undergraduate level, and it's really kind of known for that. And I had heard about it as a kid growing up. And although my mom had passed away before I got here, she loved the New School. She was an immigrant, she had never been here, but she knew what it stood for, and she would just be thrilled that I finally came to the New School.
That's really beautiful. And you were talking about your own, like, week to week, going to maybe the Met and then BAM the next day, and all these events, and engaging with the greater New York community. And, you know, we're in the middle of the village here. Like, obviously, New York City is the campus of the New School. And so how do you think that influences a student's experience studying the liberal arts and the performing arts, literally just in the middle of the city?
At Lang, this is sort of implicitly the case, but recently, about 5 years ago, we decided to really sort of activate this access to New York City by bringing it into the classroom. And we now have 20 to 40 classes every year that are called civic liberal arts courses, and these courses are designed by a faculty member and someone working in the city, whether that is at the New York Times, at the Center for Traditional Music and Dance, if it's at New Directions, a really interesting publishing place, someone from one of those organizations who probably has a relationship with one of our faculty members. They design the course together. They teach the course together. There's a student fellow to help support the students in the course. And what's remarkable is the number of people out there, interesting professionals, creators of all kinds, saying, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to teach at the New School. This is their chance. But rather than always saying to the students, go out and bring it back, we brought the city into the classroom. Because the classroom really is an interesting and exciting place. It is a kind of laboratory. So in addition to using the city constantly, our courses always have assignments sending students out into the city. We bring the city very intentionally into the curriculum all the time.
Same. Yeah, I mean, that is a huge part of it. Similarly, we, both our undergrad and graduate programs we partner with some of these incredible organizations that are in the city who have really fostered and developed their own methodology, their own creative practice. So when we talk about making theater, for instance, or what is opera, or what's happening in contemporary music, where are the lines between jazz and contemporary music and serious music, we have people coming in who are teaching. They are teaching from their own experience. They are teaching their methodology. They are bringing their artistic partners in, their artistic co-conspirators, as we sometimes call them. So that's a really exciting and very, very unique. There's something else I think that there's some, you probably know who said this, but there's some quote that New Yorkers are born every day without respect to geography. People just feel in their bones that New York is the place that they want to be, and it could be completely irrational, but they have a sense that they will find themselves here and that there will be a community here that will understand them as artists, as thinkers, as iconoclasts, as as new identities from the identity that they grew up with and perhaps were saddled with. And New School is very much a microcosm of that. It is a very accepting place. It's an incredibly supportive place. It's highly collaborative, and certainly in the performing arts, and I think and certainly Parsons and Lang, you're working in groups. You are working you are addressing challenges and problems in the dynamic of a small supportive group, sometimes of multiple disciplines, multiple backgrounds. And I think we have a chance to do something here, which is to address, the world has a lot of problems right now, and there's all kinds of ways of thinking about what we can do to help. I think the notion of, and this is one reason why we're so passionately interested in diversity, the ability to spend 4 years hearing different people's experiences, hearing how they think about issues in the world, and whether that is being in an ensemble and playing with them and learning empathy on a deep, nonverbal level, or working on being partnered in one of our required course in the drama undergrad, where you're out in the community and figuring out what the relationship between theatrical practice and community is. These are opportunities to have an impact in a way that is beyond just making sure that the spotlight is on you. And I think our students they're really amazing, and they want the spotlight to be on the problems. They want to be shining the lights on some places that deserve light and need light, and working to kind of, I think lead us to a better place, frankly. I'm very optimistic about the future. I'm very pessimistic about my own generation, but I'm very optimistic about the future.
I am hearing you talk, Pippin, makes me think about it in the spirit of learning something today, learning something new. Maybe this will be new. Some words from Walt Whitman came to mind, because you're talking about what people say about New York. And so Walt Whitman is often known as sort of the poet of America, or the poet of all of America. And if you go into the UC, which you probably have been today, University Center, in the event cafe, if you go downstairs, those neon purple lights are lines from Walt Whitman. They are beautiful. Go read them. But this is, in a poem, one section of Song of Myself, he writes about Manhattan. Mannahatta is the original name for this location. And he writes these words. And I love that he chose words to describe this place. He writes, I was asking for something specific and perfect for my city, whereupon lo upsprang the aboriginal name, Mannahatta, a word liquid, sane, unruly, magical, self-sufficient for an island 16 miles long. I think those words could describe the students we attract.
Wow. I don't think I've actually heard that anywhere. I haven't actually read that. That's very beautiful. Oops. As far as the students' experience at the New School, I mean, we've touched upon this, the whole conversation about really what it's like to be in the city studying here, studying at the New School, engaging in all these very interdisciplinary collaborations, and investigating relationships between disciplines, which were definitely the experiences that stuck out to me during my entire 5 years here. Is there anything you'd like to add about what it's like to study at the New School in New York City?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'll just jump in. I think one thing that is important, I think, to note is that the students at the New School are not afraid of rigorous hard work. They are also very much in charge of their education. They are very, and the students who succeed at the New School, and this is it doesn't matter if you're at Mannes, at Jazz, drama, Lang, Parsons, BPAT School of Public Engagement, are really, they have I think a clear sense that they have power, and that they are working with people and learning about the world in order to harness that power and figure out how it can be used, and to challenge a lot of presumptions that have been carried around for a long time. So it's really exciting. It's unruly at times. It's difficult. It's difficult to be in any organization that has to have schedules and rules, because that's how we have 10,000 students, and also really want to support students and faculty, by the way, but students who really are going to ask why, as was said earlier. And I think that's, why this music, why am I studying this person? When we recently had a very large conversation about women and jazz and gender and the history of that kind of relationship. We're going through it at drama. What is happening in the room? What is the power of artists who were previously really considered just interpreters, and saying, no, we don't at the New School. We don't believe in such a thing as you are just an interpreter. You are a maker, you're a creator, you have agency, and we're going to make sure that every single person who graduates from COPA, for instance, makes, improvises, leads, collaborates, and has a way to make their own way in the world.
I could just say ditto. And it's true. I would only add, I guess, at Lang, this might resonate with many of you, because we've surveyed students as they come in, as they graduate, and the reason students tend to apply to Lang and initially come are what I would call structural reasons. They name that it's in New York City, that it is liberal arts, that it is seminar-based, and they also mention, we haven't touched on this, the open curriculum. We do not have a general education core requirement. You will not take Western Civilization 1 and 2 here. We don't offer it, and we don't go around looking for faculty to teach it. Here, dare I say this, faculty teach what they want to teach, students study what they want to study, and it works very well. Now, we have majors, there are requirements, there are guidelines, but rigor lies not in telling you what to study, but in trusting you as the learner to pursue questions, and then absolutely structuring courses and curricula that are rigorous, that take up questions seriously, probe deeply, from reading Aristotle to Hannah Arendt to Zadie Smith to Bell Hooks. We don't study those names here because you get cultural capital. You can be at a cocktail party and say, yes, I just read Aristotle's Poetics, but because actually Aristotle's Poetics might help you think rigorously about questions of aesthetics today and questions of justice and aesthetics, as well might reading Zadie Smith's latest novel or her great recent New Yorker article about Deanna Lawson, an amazing photographer. That's the kind of intellectual conversation that happens in an open curriculum rather than the notion of, I must take this gen ed sequence. So I would just sort of add that in that agency and that sense of self-direction, it gets enacted through the open curriculum at Lang, which is not sort of just do what you want, do nothing and be sloppy or lazy, but rather do what you want seriously and responsibly.
I just want to add one thing. I think that's really true, and I maybe glossed over this, or maybe we did in a kind of way, but the students are incredibly talented, and I mean, when you see what they're doing, when you hear the sounds coming out, when you see their work, when you read their writing, it's really amazing, and it is completely inspirational as a young artist to be in a community, and they are out there in the world, as Stephanie's saying, they are professionals very quickly after leaving here, and occasionally before, where we have like a senior year where we're juggling some things. So it is really, it is not, I don't want to say that they're never in the spotlight, because they are very much in the spotlight, but that doesn't describe all of them. So it's just on when I walk into 55 West 13th Street, and the building is full of the energy of students making, and it's, they're actors and they're musicians and they're composers and singers and directors and creative technologists. It's fantastic. It gives me energy, and I think it inspires them as well.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. At both schools that I was a part of, like the College of Performing Arts, my classmates would have a performance, several performances every night, and it's always like, who do I go see tonight, or how many venues can I make it to in one night to see the work that my classmates are doing. And then at Lang as well, like in the science department, people were doing all these different research experiences abroad and coming back and actually like making change before that they even graduate the program. And it was really inspiring, and I think like that was one of the biggest benefits to being here, was that it wasn't really just about the school, it was about the community and just receiving all this energy and inspiration from my community. So
you should say a little bit more, Zosha. She is what we're all here for, and you. Yes. And I'd love to hear you say just a little bit more about your education at the New School and what you most value.
Well, I really valued, as you were talking about, the open curriculum in both programs. And I love that when I tell somebody what I majored in, they're never really sure like what that means. Like, what does it mean to major in jazz and contemporary music or interdisciplinary science? What is that? And I always have to explain to them what my program was like, because there's no single definition for any one student here. I was able to not graduate as a jazz violinist, but graduate as a creative, improvising, composing musician who was performing the entire time at school. And as an interdisciplinary science major, everyone had their own track in the program. And so my program ended up focusing on some environmental studies and public health, whereas other people were like, they were much more interested in design and more like designing urban spaces and things that were more studying ecology, urban ecology and everything. So, I don't know.
At the New School, I never ask a student, what are you majoring in? Because that's just too passive. Yeah. I simply ask, what do you study? What are you reading? What are you watching? Yeah. Because we study lifelong. And here we honor that, in that there is that impulse in human beings to study and to learn. And so majors are a way to structure learning, and that's what colleges offer. We structure the learning for you. We curate readings. We create concerts for you to go to, things you should listen to, because we've spent a lot of time about this, but we take you very seriously as a learner who comes with a set of questions, ready to be challenged, ready to ask those, ready to ask other ones. And so I think it's not uncommon that the major is, yes, it tells you something about who the person is, but really ask yourself, what are you studying these days? What's on your mind? What are you reading?
Thanks so much, Zosha. I think we're going to have a chance
Thank you.
now. We're going to leave here. I think someone's wrapping up for us, but
Yeah.
now we're going to have a chance
You
to
want
talk
us off
more
the stage.
specifically with you in various breakouts. And take it away, Craig.
Terrific. You guys could have kept talking for 20 more minutes. I'd have been perfectly happy, because you're terrific. So visit, explore, engage. Those are your tasks for the rest of today. And really, those are just aspects of a larger task that you set for yourselves long before you came to this room. You're here to try to find the best fit college. And here's the point where I'm supposed to tell you, you already have. You're sitting here at the new school, and inarguably, we must be the best school for you. And that may, in fact, be true. It also might not be. And so I want to say to you that we acknowledge we're not the best school for everybody, nor are we likely to be the only great school available to you. We want you to choose the school that's the best fit for you. And we know where you choose to go to college is important for lots of reasons. It's going to determine the classes that you take, who you're taught by, the friends that you make, the relationships you enter into, then break off and enter into again, the internships you get, the networks you become part of, the memories you make, likely the first job that you end up getting, maybe who you marry, if you marry. All of these things are going to definitely shape who you become. So like I said, it is important. But I don't want to scare you, because you're no doubt choosing between a lot of very good options. And your life on the margins is going to be okay and turn out just fine, whichever of those choices you make. So remember to breathe, but also remember your goal for coming here today. And every time you visit another school in this process, it's to leave with a better sense than when you started about whether we are or aren't the school that's best going to help you become both the kinds of professionals and the kinds of people you want to become. If you want to ask big questions, you want to generate new answers, think critically, conceptually, and creatively, and make the future catch up to you, chances are pretty good that this will be the place you'll eventually call home. We've curated a really structured day today to try to help you all in making those determinations. And the first step of that will be to break you out by College of Performing Arts interested students and Eugene Lang College of Liberal Arts interested students.